Since the 1980s, physicians and cancer groups have regularly warned the public against the potential health dangers of direct sunlight on skin. As a result, many people have stayed out of the sunlight completely, covered their limbs even in warm weather, or slathered themselves with UV protection products, all in the interest of lowering their risk of melanomas. However, more recent findings indicate that this kind of nearly vampiric avoidance of the sun may not benefit your cancer odds after all. A 2009 study by a group of Leeds University researchers found that higher levels of vitamin D were linked to improved skin cancer survival odds. Other studies have found that vitamin D has a connection to a strong immune response in the body. In fact, vitamin D may hasten the death of tumor cells. Unfortunately, most people have low levels of vitamin D, leaving them at higher risk for a host of diseases, including breast cancer, prostate cancer, bowel cancer, cervical cancer, rickets, and osteoporosis. It's common for the general public to have low levels of vitamin D in many countries, said Professor Julia Newton-Bishop of the Leeds Institute of Molecular Medicine and author of the Leeds study. Melanoma patients tend to avoid the sun as sunburn is known to increase the risk of melanoma. We use sunshine to make vitamin D in the skin, so melanoma patients' levels of vitamin D may be especially low. Bishop also noted that people can get more vitamin D through dietary sources such as fatty fish. She points out that balance is key, as extremely high levels of vitamin D can have a negative effect on health. The mainstream media continues to run stories every summer warning people against the sun, even 2 years after the Leeds study. While hours of sunbathing may be risky behavior for your long-term health, receiving a moderate amount of sunlight while out gardening or walking is actually as good for you as eating a low-fat diet and engaging in regular exercise. In fact, laying off the sunscreen may help you not only absorb sunshine into your skin to help fight tumors, but also helps you avoid the chemicals in most commercial sun-blocking products. Some studies have indicated that these chemicals can actually generate harmful free radicals in the body. So this summer, relax and enjoy the sunshine. Welcome everybody to the 5th episode of Earth Created. Today we're looking at vitamin D, our fabulous sun, and a bit on chemtrails. There's a really great video by, it's a Project Camelot video, and they're interviewing at a live conference Gabrielle Stahler, and she's an expert. Basically, she's what is called a Heilpraktiker or a Heilpraktikant or something like that. And it's something that can't be translated from German into English because it's something that we don't have in our quote unquote medical system. There's basically doctors, and then like the step below it are the Heilpraktikers, or I'm probably saying it wrong, but I'm close. And that's a really amazing video. Now, the article that I just read was from imzaia.com, imzaia.com. It is generally a spiritual site. There's a wealth of information on it. There are channelings, there are articles, there are blogs, people's opinion, and also things that, experience, and also things that are actually going on throughout the world through articles and everything. So I highly recommend checking out imzaia.com. They touch on some really important things in that article. And this is a subject that I'm really, really passionate about. There are a few things that they touch on that I'm definitely going to be touching on because it's bordering on incorrect. The sun really is incredibly beneficial to us, and we have been brainwashed. We have been conditioned to believe that this big, beautiful being that's in the sky watching over us not 24 hours a day, but you know what I mean, watching over us basically every day, is this harmful thing. And I refuse to believe that the universe, that God is going to put me on a planet where I'm so close to a star that's going to burn me to a crisp. Now, my own personal experience let's talk about sunblock for a second. That stuff, I don't touch it. That stuff is poison. My own personal experience with that is there have been numerous times that I've gone to the beach with certain friends, and I'm not dark. I'm pretty fair. I'm not blonde fair, but I'm close. So like, I've been to the beach with like a friend or whatever, and they'll slather on the sunblock, and I'll be like, no, 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 I'm not touching that stuff. And always that person comes away burnt, and I don't. And again, I am not a tanned person. You know, I usually come away with like a slightly more golden hue than what I had when I first came to the beach, you know. And actually something that I do find really amazing is carrier oil. To, instead of sunblock, either go naked, you know, nothing on your skin, or a carrier oil like grapeseed, almond, olive, and I've mostly used olive oil. And I don't have an issue. And, you know, you're going to have lots of people, of course, who buy into the system and are very conditioned and believe that sunblock's actually good for you, saying, well, it's oil, you know, you're going to end up baking yourself. But it's not true. It's so not true. It's amazing. Doreen Virtue has talked about this for a really long time. And I remember specifically in one of her books, I couldn't tell you the title of it, but... Oh, that's going to bug me. But in one of her books, she went on a trip with her partner. I don't know if they're married or not. With her partner, I believe his name is Steve, to Greece. And she was sitting on a rock, I believe in Santorini, or she was sitting in a rock somewhere. It was at the like a top of a mountain near a church or whatever. It's been years since I've read this book. But she would talk about the benefits of the sun and how fabulous the sun actually was. And during a meditation, she had seen people back in Greece in a pyramidal type structure where they were actually washing their hands with olive oil. Like it was a place to heal people. And they were actually washing their hands with olive oil before and after every healing that they would give to somebody. And because of like the pyramidal structure or whatever, there was a little area like near the top of it where light would filter in, and they would use crystals, of course, and everything, you know, the healing energy in colors, you know, chromotherapy, and the healing energy in light therapy. So, and you also get the benefits from each individual crystal, because each one is so, the energy of each one is so connected to so many different things. You know, certain crystals are really great for the spleen. Certain crystals are really great for your etheric body, you know, and just as a side note, and this will probably be a topic for a future show, I was talking about it with my friend Mike yesterday. We were looking through pictures of crystals, of my crystals, and I came upon the picture of a crystal that I have that's prehnite with little tiny pieces of epidote in it. And I just suddenly got this thought where I said to him, where do these come from? You know, like this prehnite looks like an extraterrestrial. And it was just a really interesting thing. And so I was saying to him, you know, what if we find out that crystals are actually extraterrestrial beings, that they're actually little beings? Really, it's no different than seeing the ocean as a being, or seeing each tree and each leaf on a tree as a being, or the extension of the being of the tree, right? So, but it was one of those moments where we were both like, wow, that's a really cool thought, you know. And then we started, of course, questioning, you know, like how are crystals formed? You know, are they, you know, they have to grow from something. And is there an equivalent to a seed or whatever that, you know, you plant and a crystal grows? It was a great conversation, you know, and it was just one of those really great things. You know, when you start asking questions, you really come away with some amazing ideas, you know, so that's just a side note. And that's maybe going to be a topic for a future show, you know, crystals and where do they come from, and, you know, their spiritual connections. But yeah, so Doreen Virtue has talked extensively in that one book, whose title I couldn't tell you, and I'm sorry, where she goes to Greece, and that she had seen this vision of all these healers washing their hands with olive oil. And it was years ago that my mom said to me, because I had expressed to her, like, I am so not interested in putting sunblock or sunscreen on my body. That stuff is poison. Like, I might as well drink turpentine or something. You know, it's really that horrible. And she said, why don't you use olive oil? And I said, you know, I'm reading this book now by Doreen Virtue. So it's just one of those, of course, another synchronous thing that happens in my life. So, yeah, let's get into Gabrielle Staehler's video a little bit, and I highly recommend you check out her video. It's just a bit over an hour. It's like an hour and like 30 seconds, where she gets a bit into her background, but most of it is her talking about the benefits of vitamin D and the benefits of the sun, because the sun is it can heal anything. We've put this negative onus upon the sun based upon other things. And we'll get into that. The benefits of vitamin D: it's great for bone health. It helps with at least 16 different cancer types. It's good with infections and inflammations, depression. I think this one is probably the most known by people. Neurological disorders, colds and flu, because it kills bacteria and germs. Immune system, tuberculosis, periodontitis. I've never actually heard that word said, so, and diabetes. And that's probably not all of it. And I have another article that goes into a bit more connecting vitamin D to multiple sclerosis, which is a topic that's very personal for me, because my mother has, I say that in quotes, multiple sclerosis, and was diagnosed, whatever that means, because I don't trust what doctors say, when I was about 14, so it was about 16 years ago. But I'll get into that, because there's an article that I would like to read by Dr. Mercola. From what I understand, the difference between D and D3 vitamins is that we get, and I'm probably saying this wrong, so definitely check out Gabrielle Staehler's video. You can actually go to, this is more helpful, go to Carrie Cassidy's YouTube, which is Jagbodhi, Jagbodhi. So if you just go to youtube.com/user/Jagbodhi, Jagbodhi, and you can just look for Gabrielle, which is with one L, so Gabriele, and it should come up Gabrielle Staehler on vitamin D with Project Camelot or something like that. It might even say Bill Ryan in the title too. I can't totally remember. But yeah, so I'm just saying kind of what she's saying. So from what I understand is that we take in vitamin D from the sun, and it metabolizes in our body, and then it ends up turning into D3. And this is like a completely simplified explanation for what D and D3 and D2 also even do. D3 is made in the skin. If you just go outside for a few minutes, your skin will help to create that. And I'm getting a little ahead of it, but what ends up happening is that the D hits the liver, and it becomes metabolized in the liver, and I believe it works through the kidneys, and then it becomes D3. And the D3 that you buy in like Shoppers or whatever you have where you are. We have Shoppers in Canada. If you're in the States, I don't know what that would be. Save-On or something. It's been years since I've been in the States. But the D3 that you buy, it tends to be from the hair of the sheep, the lanolin, and the D2 is from plants. So what ends up happening when you're getting the D3 from sheep, for example, like the hair of the sheep, what's happening is that the sheep is out in the sun is hitting the sheep, right? And so the sheep is taking in D into its liver, and then this form is metabolizing throughout the body, right? And it becomes D3. So then they're taking the hair of the sheep and somehow synthesizing it to make these little vitamins. My own personal experience with D3, because this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, and when people are having issues with anything relating to their health, there are two things that I always, well, actually 3 things now that I always recommend to people. Cannabis, and that will be a future episode, because I am a huge advocate of cannabis, and in my life story, I'm 30 now, and for the first almost 30 years of my life, I was completely against cannabis. So that will be an interesting topic, but I wanted to keep that for a little later once I have more people listening, because